Welcome, everyone, to a brand new episode of the Ruthless Aggression Era podcast. As always, I am your host, Mel Matt, and joining me tonight, it's actually our first time guest on the show. This guest has never been on this show before, so here he is.
Matt, how are you, my friend? It's been too long. We should I am looking forward to this show because I was telling you earlier, this is an era I don't know a lot about. There's kind of some gaps in my wrestling knowledge. So it's cool to have a show that's focused on an era that I am not an expert in. And I'm glad that you could have me on this show to talk a little bit of a strange episode of Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, George from Two Guys One Sport is here. I'm very excited to have him on, and like you said, it's an era that sort of passed him by. I guess you could say. So it'll be interesting for him to see this weird show.
Yes, absolutely. Real quick, I was telling you this, Matt, but I'll tell the class. I was more or less off wrestling. I wasn't watching any wrestling from the middle of 2002 to the middle of 2007. So I missed almost the entire Ruthless Aggression era when it unfolded the first time, or when it unfolded in real time. So I am looking forward to kind of doing a deep dive into what for me is more or less brand new content. I've gone back and watched a lot of the matches, but without being there in the moment, I missed a lot of the weekly episodes. I missed Kurt Angle and Edge and Rey Mysterio on SmackDown and Triple H and Scott Steiner on Monday Night Raw, and the entirety of Evolution in their first Raw and their first run. So it's good that I have this forum to talk to you and really pick your brain, and you can help me kind of fill in the gaps in my wrestling knowledge. So I really appreciate you having me on this show.
Thanks for being on. This is an era that I really grew up on. Really, because this was really around the time where I really started like watching. Like I was watching since WrestleMania 17, but the Ruthless Regression era, it's around that time where I distinctly remember watching wrestling of any kind. And so watching some of these old Raws and SmackDowns and pay-per-views, they're really bringing back a lot of memories.
So
both good, like Survivor Series 2002, and I'm sure there'll be some bad memories along the way in terms of some pay-per-views.
What brought you into wrestling in the first place? Tell me your origin story real quick. I'm curious. I'm always curious how people get involved in professional wrestling.
Well, the first event I ever watched was WrestleMania 17, and I don't know, I can't remember specifically how I got into it. All I can remember is I guess my parents just ordered WrestleMania 17 on pay-per-view, and so I just remember watching it in my parents' room. I was 5 years old when I
first wow. Okay, cool. That's awesome. Yeah. That's about how old I was when I first started watching wrestling. It seems that it really has it really grabs young kids in,
Oh yeah, totally. Like the larger than life characters.
Absolutely.
Really what got me in. I do remember watching, WrestleMania 17 Rock and Austin or in my parents' room, but since I just started watching, I didn't really know why McMahon and Austin joining forces was such a big deal. I just thought, oh, yeah.
That's awesome. No, it's funny. I started at about that same age, but I'm a little older than you are. My dad was and is a professional wrestling fan. I mean, because his dad was a pro wrestling fan. Because my grandfather wrestled in the Navy during the Second World War, and so even though professional wrestling and Greco-Roman wrestling aren't the same thing, he was always drawn to professional wrestling because it was a kind of a close approximation, And so my dad grew up in a wrestling household, and so I grew up in a wrestling household. I mean, my dad to this day still watches Monday Night Raw. Like he and I will text every Monday, "Hey, the main event's this," or "Hey, did you see Kevin Owens go through the?" My dad was texting me a bunch of capital letters when Owens jumped off the ladder last week on the Braun Strowman on the table. And my dad's in his 60s, and the fact that he still can get excited for wrestling is kind of cool, to be honest. Like a guy who's seen wrestling for 40 years can still get excited when one of his favorites, like Samoa Joe, does something cool. So that's really something that I love about wrestling, is that we all have our favorites, you know, whomever they are. Everybody is somebody's favorite, and it's just, and no matter who it is, you have something to attach to. The larger than life characters is really what drew me to this business in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. Same here. And me and my dad watch Raw and SmackDown every week as well.
That's so
cool.
It
really does. It really does bring people together.
Absolutely, it does. Like, I mean, my dad and I disagree about a lot of stuff, you know, but we always agree about wrestling. You know what I'm saying? It's always been something that we've had in common, even throughout the years. I'm 33. I mean, I've been watching wrestling on and off since I was, I don't know, 6, 7. And so to have that connection with my dad when we were growing up, when I was growing up, and we did not have a lot in common, but we always had wrestling. It was always the great fallback, you know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a cool moment. So let's jump into the show, my friend.
Yeah, so tonight we're going to be looking at the
This is the first time I've seen this show was today, by the way. I did not watch this when it was on the when it aired the first time.
Yeah, like tonight we're going to be taking a look at the Raw 10th Anniversary Spectacular. And like George said, today was the first time
he had ever watched it. About 3 hours ago.
Yeah, and I watched it when it first aired, and you know, back then, obviously, you know, being like around 7 years old or something like that, I didn't really know what the internet really was or what the IWC is. But, you know, seeing it in hindsight and seeing people talk about this was not a popular show. This is not a popular show. It's very notorious.
I can believe that, having seen it. I mean, I have a few problems with it. I can see the how it could be very controversial.
Yeah, because I do know it recently got inducted into WrestleCrap around the time that Raw 25 aired.
Oh, I believe it. I mean, having seen it, I don't know if it's as bad as Raw 25. For one thing, it only takes place in one building. You know,
True.
And you heard the stories about Raw 25, people spending, you know, $1,500 to sit in the Manhattan Center and watch Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy have a 2-minute match. Like, but on the flip side, they got a match. These people did not get a match, you know? So yeah. I definitely understand the controversy. I definitely get it. And if I was in that building, I got to believe that I'd be pissed off too. So I totally understand that.
Yeah, and so the Raw 10th Anniversary Spectacular took place at the World in New York, which is one of the final times that something like that took place. And so I think about a couple months after this, they would do the Tough Enough 3 finale, as well as this WrestleMania interview show called WrestleMania Third Degree, which I'm probably not going to cover on the podcast because basically all it is an interview show. There's really nothing more to it than that. But yeah, I think that was like the final major show that took place at the World was WrestleMania Third Degree. After that, it closed down.
I believe it.
And I do. I will say this: I do like the vibe of the World here. I like the stage setup. I like the graphics. I think it looks pretty cool. I thought.
Yeah, I liked that it was kind of intimate. I kind of dug that, to be honest. You know, it was very,
totally.
very, very different than nowadays, where it's an arena or a stadium, you know, and everything's so spread out. Have you been to a WWE show live?
I've been to live events. I've never been to a Raw or SmackDown or anything like that.
But I mean, they're more or less the same layout. They're usually in pretty big buildings, more or less. This was not a big building. This was a much smaller building.
Right. I was actually at a WWE event a couple weeks ago. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. What did you see?
It was actually a Raw show for once because we usually get the SmackDown card.
Okay.
We did end up getting a Raw show.
Okay.
We got Elias and Seth Rollins for the Intercontinental title.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, it was really good.
Where was the show? Where do you live?
It was in Louisiana, Lake Charles.
Oh, nice. Did you go to WrestleMania?
Unfortunately, I did not.
Oh,
That's on my
shit.
bucket list. I really
I
want to go
went.
one
I
day.
went. It was great. I got hungover on Bourbon Street the night, 2 days before. I was like, and it was hot, and actually it wasn't that hot. I shouldn't say that because when I landed Friday, WrestleMania weekend Friday, it was in like the high 70s, low 80s. But then it rained on Saturday, and it was the 60s the rest of the weekend. It was awesome. Perfect,
Nice.
perfect jeans and hoodie weather. You know what I'm saying? Like high 60s or high 50s, low 60s.
Oh yeah,
So
totally.
it was
Totally.
perfect. Couldn't ask for better weather. Because I've been to Louisiana in July, and it is quite warm, as I'm sure you know.
Oh yeah, it really
I'm
is.
glad it wasn't like that. You know,
Yeah, I mean, if it's not raining here, it's hotter than hell. But
I believe it.
that's a completely different story.
I believe it. It's gonna be. I'm in Chicago. It's gonna be 90 degrees tomorrow. Pray for
Oh
me, man.
man.
Pray for me.
Uh,
90 degrees. So, but yeah, I love the intimate feel of this show. I can see that the crowd was not loving it once they realized they were getting a clip show. You know?
yeah, like this crowd is just they are just something else.
Yeah,
They are completely drunk, I think.
it's a New York crowd. It's very smarky. But on the flip side, they didn't get any wrestling.
True.
They just got, they just got videos and awards presentations. Like, I'd be pissed too. So I can't really blame them. So
Yeah, because this took place about a week before the Royal Rumble. This took place on a Tuesday, so I actually am curious what they did with SmackDown.
I remember that Rumble. Brock won that Rumble, right?
Yeah, and that's a show that I'm going to be covering. And it's a show I'm going to be covering next week on the podcast. So
I think
really cool.
that's the Triple H Scott Steiner for the other belt, right?
Yeah,
The debacle of a match there. They were just not at all on the same page.
Yeah, that's not a match I'm looking forward to.
No. Well, you do it the good with the bad. I know that feeling.
Yeah, that's the bad memories I'm talking about on this podcast.
Yeah, no, it's real quick. I don't want to say real quick, but first, so the show starts out. They have that cool mashup. They have all the intros of the show, which was a nice, cool touch. Did you notice that?
Oh yeah, it was great.
Really, really great. And then they have the presentation of the Diva of the Decade, and Trish Stratus won. And looking back at where Trish Stratus was at the time and place, like, it's kind of bullshit. Because 2003 Trish Stratus was pretty shitty. She wouldn't become a great wrestler for another 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe not 3 or 4, maybe like 2 or 3 years. She was is a very attractive woman who had no business being in the ring, but almost won by default. Like, I know it wouldn't have been stable because she sued the company, and they frown on that. And it probably wouldn't have been Chyna because she was more or less a disaster. But you look at these nominees: Sable, Sunny, Trish Stratus, Lita, and Chyna. You can make an argument that all 4 of them, other than Trish, are more deserving of a Diva of the Decade. Yeah, and that doesn't take into account, Sherry Martel or any of the women. But it just goes to show that how pathetic women's wrestling was under WWE for a long time.
Yeah, and the funny thing with Sid was that she ended up coming back not too long after the show. Like, it was around after WrestleMania she got brought back. So maybe I could see this kind of being like them extending the olive branch, so to speak, to her, because she was on the way back.
Perfect. I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah, and Sunny, I don't know if she's as crazy now as she was back then.
Maybe worse, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if they would have given their award to her. And honestly, I was never really that big a fan of Sunny, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, it's she's kind of a wreck. Yeah.
Chyna, there was no way in hell she was getting it, even though out of all the women out of all the nominees, in a perfect world, she would probably be the most deserving, I think.
Okay. Yeah. No, you're. The most deserving, but it's kind of a sad field. Like, Trish only debuted in 2000, and this award show is in very early 2003. How is she the best of the decade when she's been there for 2 years?
Pretty much. And even then, she only started wrestling full time, really like early 2002, maybe.
Yeah, thereabouts. So she's wrestling for a year, not even.
Pretty much.
So, I mean, this is another example of WWE's. They love to congratulate themselves and rewrite history, and it's something they've been doing forever. So this is no real exception, you know.
Yeah, and I can see why they gave it to Trish, because at that point in time, she was the face of the Divas division at that time, so I can see why they did it. In hindsight, not the best choice, but it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. It is what it is. It's just something that they do, and it's something they're just going to keep doing. So.
Yeah, and so we move on to the top 10 Raw moments, which they count down throughout the night. Coach and Stacy Keibler are sort of like the MCs, I guess you could say.
Yeah, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, and so number 10, This Is Your Life.
I mean, how is that not way higher?
I am surprised.
It was one of the better moments of the Attitude Era, and one of the funnier things that this company's ever done. No thanks to just due to the chemistry that The Rock and Mankind had. You know, you could tell that those two really enjoyed each other's company and enjoyed riffing on each other.
Well, I think I know why this is at number 10. It's because they knew this was going to lead to Bayley, This Is Your Life.
Yeah, they knew. God, less of that, the better. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. So yeah, the next award is the Don't Try This at Home award, and Shane McMahon introduces this. And this is where the New York crowd really gets active, I guess you could say.
This is right around when the warm turns.
Yeah, like a fan just shouts out, "Are you drunk?" Shane says, "I wish."
Yeah, and he echoes all of our thoughts.
Yeah, so the nominees for this award are, and this is basically like a I guess like big high spots or big like daredevil angles, I guess you could say. The nominees are Big Show chokeslamming Undertaker through the ring in 1999, Jeff Hardy's performance in TLC 2002, Bubba Ray Dudley powerbombing Mae Young off the stage in 2000, and Kurt Angle moonsaults off the cage in 2001.
A lot of big stuff didn't happen on Raw, but they kind of counted it as the pad, which is okay. I mean, I understand they save the big stuff for pay-per-views, get people to pay for the show, you know? So, but winner was Kurt Angle, missing a moonsault, which is a spot that he used to do, 10 years later in TNA when he was broken down, and it was always very scary. So, I can't even think of a great bump on Raw that I would.
Same here.
I'm sorry.
Same here.
Like, I can't think of one that would win. So, here's what I don't get. You ready? Coming up next, they do a montage of horrible gimmicks, including Kamala, who had a very successful career, IRS, also a successful career, and a fun gimmick, Dean Douglas, whatever. Men on a Mission, which one of them main evented SummerSlam, so the gimmick could not have been that bad. Right?
I mean, he nearly crippled Diesel.
Papa Shango, who's in their Hall of Fame. Earthquake, what was wrong with the Earthquake gimmick? It wasn't a gimmick. It was just, this is a fat guy. That's been a staple of wrestling forever, Like, a lot of these gimmicks on this terrible gimmicks were perfectly fine. Like, Earthquake isn't even a gimmick. He's just a fat guy who lands on your chest. So was Yokozuna. So was Rikishi. That's not a problem. A lot of the names were stupid, but a lot of the gimmicks weren't stupid. It was just the performers were pretty bad.
Yeah.
So I didn't quite understand it, It just seemed like another Another, we're WWE. All this is wrestling, but we're sports entertainment. So it just seemed kind of strange to me.
Yeah, I wrote down every name on.
Give me the names.
That,
I did not write them all down, but give me the names.
I didn't know who a couple of them were, but I did know who most of them were.
Okay.
So get ready for this list.
I'm ready.
This is all right. So in order, we got Doink the Clown, Tennessee Lee, the Goon, Kamala.
The Goon was a hockey player.
The Goon?
He was a hockey player.
Yeah.
His gimmick was that he wrestled in like skates.
Pretty much.
Yeah, bad. Kamala.
Yeah,
Kamala was good. Don't at me at my fucking Twitter mentions. Kamala was good.
Yeah.
All right, go on.
So we had IRS, he was what he was. Yeah, I guess we can go ahead and just say our opinions on all this. I think that would be cool.
Cool.
So we have I guess I can go ahead and start over. We can do it. Doink the Clown.
Doink was great. I mean,
I love Doink the Clown.
The WWF was a kids' federation, and Doink the Scary Clown, and then he became babyface, and he would play like tricks on people. What was wrong with Doink the Clown? Was fine.
Yeah, I loved Heel Doink.
Heel Doink was great. All right, what's next?
So, Tennessee Lee.
I don't know. Couldn't tell you anything about him.
He was Colonel Robert Parker, whoever in WCW. He managed Harlem Heat.
Oh, I remember Colonel Robert Parker. Yeah. Whatever. Kind of a weird plantation owner thing.
Mm-hmm. So, and when he was in WWF, he managed Jeff Jarrett, I believe.
Oh boy! Speaking of, bad gimmicks, the whole singing thing for Jeff Jarrett was just.
How did that not make it?
Yeah. Especially because Jarrett was doing TNA at the time. They had a chance to bury him, but they didn't take it. So I'm with you.
The Goon, I guess we already kind of covered that.
Yeah, the hockey player. He was around for like 2 weeks.
Kamala.
I love Kamala as well. I'll take that to my grave.
IRS.
Great. If for nothing else, on the Bob Barker Price is Raw game show, he was great.
Yes, I loved him on that show.
He was the best part of that little skit. So for that alone, he gets my eternal clearance. But he was good with Ted DiBiase. Money Inc. Who doesn't like Money Inc.?
Yeah, I like that tag team, and not only that, he gave us Bo Dallas and Bray Wyatt.
Absolutely, and he comes from a long wrestling family in his own right, Blackjack Mulligan. So, who's next?
Techno Team 2000.
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I do know that one half of the team was Eric Watts, the son of Cowboy Bill Watts.
Ooh, yeah, he was no damn good.
Yeah. Nepotism at its finest. I don't know who the next guy was. All I wrote down was some dude in a yellow mask.
Well, I can't help you.
Yeah, I had no who that guy was.
I believe it.
John Pierre Lafitte.
One of the Quebecers, right? I think.
Yeah, I believe so.
So okay, nothing wrong with the Quebecers. They were just Frenchmen.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know who the next guy was either. All I know, he was a plumber guy. I think he was like PT somebody or whatever.
I don't know. Who's next?
Yeah. Okay. Who's next is. Okay, I don't want to say the entire name because I don't want to offend somebody. Let's just say it's a little person who imitated the Macho Man.
A little person who imitated the Macho Man.
Yeah.
I don't have any memory of that either, which probably sounds good. That probably sounds horrible, so it's good that I don't remember that.
Yeah. So next up is Quang.
Quang was fine. Whatever. He was fine.
Uh-huh. The Executioner.
No memory of him. Probably for the best.
Dean Douglas.
Oh, Dean Douglas. No, Dean Douglas was good. it would have been fine. The gimmick itself was not the problem. The problem was that the performer was from ECW, and the WWF crowd wanted nothing to do with him. So that's kind of on the bubble for me.
Yeah, I was never a fan of Shane Douglas, to be honest. So
yeah, but the gimmick was fine. Just the performer was kind of you know.
Yeah, and they kind of already did that gimmick with like the Genius and
exactly
somebody like that.
Exactly.
Damien Demento.
Oh, he was a jobber. Who cares about jobbers?
Yeah,
you know, jobbers are supposed to be stupid.
He did main event the first Raw against the Undertaker.
Yeah,
so
he did, and he'll take that to his grave.
Gilbert.
Yeah, it was stupid. No argument here.
Yeah, it really was.
That was dumb.
Though I did like when he would come back and like The Rock would bring him back, the Mock Goldberg, and even Kevin Owens like a couple years back.
Yeah. Old Gilbert, yeah.
Man Mountain Rock.
The name rings a bell, but I couldn't tell you anything about him.
He was Max Payne in WCW.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Max Payne wasn't bad. I mean, he wasn't good, but he wasn't terrible.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting gimmick.
Yeah, so did I. I mean, he's very middle of the road in terms of gimmicks, you know? Not bad, not great. Kind of a role player.
Yeah. Real Man's Man era William Regal.
Not my favorite William Regal gimmick, but William Regal is so great, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. I didn't care much for the gimmick either, but William Regal definitely got better as time went on, I think.
Yeah.
Men on a Mission.
Again, one of them main evented a SummerSlam. So, and they had cool purple pants. How do you hate cool purple pants?
And one of them would later become Viscera.
Yep.
And become the world's largest love machine.
R.I.P.
Yes, indeed. Dink the Clown.
Worked with Doink. That's okay. You know, but Doink made it work.
Oh, yeah.
With his little buddy.
Yeah, and some trivia here. Dink the Clown was also the same little person that imitated the Macho Man. He was the little person Macho Man.
Really?
Yes.
Did not know that.
Next up is Abe Knuckleball Schwartz.
Oh, Brooklyn Brawler. Come on.
Yeah,
I'm the Brooklyn Brawler.
I'm surprised Brooklyn Brawler didn't make the list.
Yeah, but the Brooklyn Brawler was great. He was a jobber. You know?
Yeah. The ultimate jobber.
The ultimate jobber. Who cares?
Like when I think of jobber, Brooklyn Brawler is usually the first guy that comes to mind.
As it should be.
So Salvatore.
That does not ring a bell.
He was in like 96, 97, had a very disingenuous gimmick.
Did Aldo Montoya make this list?
I don't think he did.
Aldo Montoya should have made the list. He had the thing on it. He had the weird pantyhose thing on his head. Remember that?
You know what? Yeah, he might have. Let me hold on.
Aldo Montoya, the Portuguese man of war. He literally wrestled with pantyhose on his head.
You know what? I think he might have. I think that's when
the guy with the yellow mask. That may be the guy with the yellow mask.
Yeah. That it is. It is
Aldo Montoya. He was real bad. That's a bad gimmick. I have no problem including that gimmick on a worst gimmicks list because that was no damn good.
Yeah, and he didn't get any better when he changed to Just Incredible. I don't think.
No, it was by the time he got to ECW, there was nobody really left in ECW. You know.
Plus, Paul Heyman could really, he could really do something with nobody. I guess you could say. Like he really hide the weaknesses and play up the strengths, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So next up is Max Moon.
He was fine. Not great, not bad, just fine.
Good old Conan.
What?
Good old Conan.
One of the best. You know, in terms of cutting a promo, he's still up there in terms of one of the best.
Yeah, I haven't seen Conan since.
He's floating around. I think he's on Impact. He was on Lucha Underground. I think he's on Impact. He does a lot of work in Mexico still. He's like a god in Mexico.
Yeah, because I remember like the last time I saw him, he was like Prince Puma's manager, and
In
he was
yeah, like
running around
yeah, that was
the first
like
season.
yeah, first season. I think he went away at the end of first season, and he's been in Impact. He's been in AAA. He's been doing some stuff.
Papa Shango.
A WWE Hall of Famer.
Honestly,
And
I love the Papa Shango
so did
gimmick. I
I.
don't care
It
what
made
anyone
the Ultimate
says.
Warrior throw up, and it scared the hell out of me when I was a kid.
Ooze green blood from the head.
Exactly. And like when I was like 8 or whatever, that scared the hell out of me.
Missed his
Well,
running at WrestleMania 8.
yeah, well, that's 'cause the ramp was like 60 yards long. How can you blame him?
Yeah. So
The guy
next up,
ran at a full sprint for like 10 seconds, and he still didn't make it to the ring.
yeah, I did like the stage and the entire arena for WrestleMania 8. By the way, I thought that was cool.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Next up, I'm actually surprised this guy made the list. Rick the Model Martel.
No, I loved him. No,
See?
that's BS. He was good.
Yeah, I really liked Rick the Model Martel. I have an action figure of the guy.
I'm jealous. I wish I had an action figure of the guy. I'm jealous now.
Yeah, it looks great. That's all I'll say. It
I
does
don't know.
look
I'm
great.
super jealous.
But I did really like Rick the Model Martel. I thought he was great. Next up,
I'm
the
with you.
blue.
I'm with you.
Yeah, next up, the blue meanie.
Oh no, Meanie was fine. In
I love the
ECW.
blue meanie.
Yeah, that's the low blow. That's a low blow, WWE.
Yeah, but I mean, at least we'll have the memories of WrestleMania 2000 on Nintendo 64.
Yes, we will. The second best wrestling video game of all time. Well, actually, third best. It's in reverse order. It's WrestleMania 2000. Here Comes the Pain, and WCW NWO Revenge.
Yeah, I can't argue with that.
Yeah, WCW NWO Revenge is an awesome game.
Yeah, I really like that.
The problem with current video games is I have a PS3, so I'm a few years behind. I bought whatever. I think I bought WWE 2K15 or 14 or 15. I think one of those years. Yeah, that shit's hard. It's hard. They're like, all I want to do is curb stomp some guy as Seth Rollins, and it's hard, super hard. It's very difficult to get into.
Yeah, you just gotta build up your meter, and then when the since you're on PS3, I'm guessing when it flashes triangle in the current position.
Yeah, but you gotta weaken the guy down, and it's hard to do anything on like basic moves, and it's just way more difficult than I remember. And I don't mind playing difficult games. I mean, I play games all the time. Some of them are hard, some of them are easy, whatever. But it's just like, man, I should not be doing algebra to do a wrestling move.
Yeah. I mean, I love the current WWE games, but that's just me,
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's very tough. It's a young man's game, my friend, and you're a young man, so.
Yeah. I will say this: it was much more simpler back then when there were barely any buttons on the controllers.
Exactly.
So next up, I'm actually kind of sad about this. Bertha Faye.
Yeah, and that's her. Yeah, that's sad is a good word for it.
Yeah.
So it's a shame. So
Earthquake's
gimmick was fat guy. Lots of fat guys in wrestling. Fat people always have a place in wrestling.
Yeah.
So
and let's not forget he was also the shark in the Dungeon of Doom.
Sure, but they said Earthquake.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with Earthquake.
Yeah, I like Earthquake.
Yeah.
Bastion Booger.
Yeah, this was garbage. So I'm with you there.
Some Viking dude. I have no clue.
One of the Bushwhackers? No, I don't know. I don't know one of the Viking dudes.
I guess he was the Berserker. I think that might have been. No, that wasn't Berserker. That was WCW. I don't know who it is.
Maybe, I don't know.
Oh, wait. Yeah, he was a Berserker in WWF. That might be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it says the Viking was one of his ring names, so it's gotta be the Berserker.
Gotta be. You're right about that.
Repo Man.
Ah, he was fine. Whatever.
Yeah,
He was
he was
fine.
a decent gimmick, but
Yeah, jobber, mid card jobber, whatever.
yeah, but going from Demolition, the freaking
Yeah,
Repo.
that's bad. Poor guy.
Adam Bomb.
Yeah, he was pretty bad. I'm with you there. That gimmick was no good.
Yeah, I think he became like one of the
Wasn't he like Crush or one Demolition or something too? No.
yeah, he was in Brian Clark, he was in WCW as yeah, he was Wrath, and then he later became what was that tag team with Brian Adams? Chronic, that's who it
Oh
was.
yeah.
Chronic.
Oh, bad. Real bad.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to know how bad they were, just watch Unforgiven 2001.
Yeah, no, that's not a good luck if you do. That was Chronic versus the Brothers of Destruction, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The,
That's
it
like
was
a
for,
that's
yeah, it
like
was
an
for
all-time
either
bad match.
yeah, it was for either the WCW tag titles or the WWF tag titles. I can't remember which one.
Either way, it was not a good match.
No, it wasn't. And for bonus bad, you can check out Vince Russo's War Games in WCW 2000.
Or you can do anything else with your time. And I mean anything else with your time.
Avatar.
No memory of that, gentlemen.
That was one of Al Snow's old gimmicks before he became Al Snow.
And I'm sure it was just great because we all know Al Snow.
It was like some sort of like ninja gimmick, I think. Like he would take off the mask whenever he would wrestle and put it back on after he was done. It wasn't a great gimmick, I can assure you.
Okay, who's next?
Waylon Mercy.
That wasn't terrible. I mean, it wasn't good.
It wasn't.
But it wasn't terrible.
I mean, it kind of gave us Bray Wyatt, really.
Yeah, which is terrible. So maybe it was terrible by default.
Yeah. The former Dan Spivey.
Yeah.
Next up.
Great name, though. Waylon Mercy is a great name.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like that. Next up is Johnny Polo.
Oh, Raven, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Raven had a ton of the Raven gimmick had a ton of potential. I mean, obviously the Raven gimmick is much better than Johnny Polo, but the Johnny Polo gimmick was not bad at all. It had a ton of potential.
It really wasn't. Yeah, I thought it was really cool, but I also think that around this time Raven got released from WWE, so it doesn't surprise me that they put that in there.
That's a very good point.
So next up, the Oddities.
Cool music, cool theme music.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they were kind of out of place in the era that they were in, but they did have cool music, so that always counts for something.
Come and see the greatest show.
Yep.
Duke.
There have been a lot of bad gimmicks. There have been a lot of bad gimmicks after this that are worse than some of the gimmicks during this that are on this little montage. So I disagree with this assessment, but go on.
Duke the Dumpster Drowsy.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, a garbage man. Yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah, it was.
Hashuki.
No, he was good. I mean, the writing on his chest or whatever was bad, but I don't know how this even qualifies as a bad gimmick, except for the writing on his upper body.
Yeah,
which they recycled for Lord Tensai.
Yeah, I do remember that.
So,
yeah,
but this wasn't a bad. I don't even know how this qualifies as a bad gimmick, though.
No. Next up was some kind of random tag team. I have no clue who these guys were. One of them had like a giant top hat. I could have sworn that one of them was Draws, but I don't think it was. It had to be around 97 or so. I have no clue who they are.
It's funny because 97 is probably my favorite year in the WWF. So I think if it comes to me, I'll just jump in, but I don't remember that.
Yeah. Giant Gonzalez.
There's nothing wrong with a giant as your gimmick. That's like shit that's been going on since wrestling began 200 years ago or whatever it's been, you know?
Yeah, like the thing with guys that tall, they look cool,
Mm-hmm.
but there's not much that they can really do. It's
No,
the same with Greg Khali, really.
yeah, but they look cool. And you look at like
Oh yeah,
Andre the Giant, and he's super over and super important. So it's not the gimmick is not the problem. It's the fact that Giant Gonzalez was garbage. But that's not the
yeah.
gimmick. That's the fact that Giant Gonzalez is bad. You see what I'm saying?
hmm Though, like the spray painted body costume did not help.
No, it did not help. It did not help. That was with the weird patch of fur where his dick is. Yeah, that did not.
Yeah.
That did him no favors, man. You're right about that.
Next up, the Bushwhackers.
You know, you ready for a story? I worked out with one of the Bushwhackers. They have a
For
gym.
real?
They have a gym in Tampa, in Clearwater
Oh,
Beach, and I was staying there at an Airbnb with my family, and I was like walking the strip looking for a gym, and it was Bushwhacker Luke's gym. And I'm like, all right, let's go check this out. You know what I mean? I got a guest pass. He was very friendly. I didn't ask him anything about wrestling because I was kind of I was kind of scared, you know. I don't want to bother the guy. He was at work.
right.
And so I worked out at Bushwhacker Luke's gym.
Oh, that's really
And
cool.
he was like helping me lift weights, and he was teaching me good form, and he was very friendly and very informative. So I'll always have a soft spot in my heart for Bushwhacker Luke.
That's awesome.
And if you're in Clearwater, Florida, you should go work out there too. So
Yeah, the Bushwhackers, they were always fine.
yeah, they were fine.
I don't
They had
know.
the cool hand motion thing.
Yeah.
The hand motion thing. Yeah. So
Like
what's wrong
the
with that?
arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if W
And
Hall
they're
of
also Hall of
Famer,
Famers too.
but
So
they,
what's that say about your Hall of Fame that you're putting in some bad gimmicks in your Hall of Fame? Right?
yeah.
So
But I thought they were a decent tag team for what they were.
yeah, they were fine.
Luna Vachon.
She was cool as hell because she was different.
Yeah.
With the shaved half head, and she was different. She was like the precursor to a lot of girls today, so I'm not going to hate on her.
Harvey Whippleman.
Yeah, I mean, as the sniveling manager, he was fine.
I like Harvey Whippleman.
He did his role well.
Yeah, I think he still works backstage at WWE to this day, I think.
Good for him. I think you're right.
Typhoon.
Wasn't that Earthquake's buddy?
Yeah.
So fat guy has a long place in wrestling,
Yeah, the other half of the Natural Disasters, and I believe he was also the Shockmaster, I think.
Tugboat. Was that him?
Yeah, it might be.
So yeah, it was either Earthquake or Typhoon. Where the one of them was the Shockmaster.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, Tugboat, Typhoon. Yeah, they were the same guy, Shockmaster. So yeah, that's him. Fred Artman.
Yeah. All right, who's next?
Tatanka.
Oh, no, that gimmick's great. No, you know what? There's like a few gimmicks that are as old as wrestling, since wrestling began. The big giant, the fat man, and the Native American. The Native American gimmick has been around since the beginning. So yeah. I will not listen to any BS about Tatanka.
Yeah, not only that, but Tatanka had like this undefeated streak, I believe.
And he was a decent worker for his era too.
Yeah.
He had the cool fall-away slam that Roman Reigns does. That was his finish.
Mm-hmm.
Samoan drop / fall-away slam. Like, yeah. No, he had a cool body. Well, back then everyone had a good body because they were all on the gas. But like Tatanka was an upper mid-carder, very good wrestler with a cool gimmick. People got into it when he was a babyface. Like, I think that's wrong on their part to put that gimmick there.
Yeah, and they even brought him back like a few years after this.
He was in one of the Andre the Giant Battle Royals, I think.
Yeah, like
I think the one in Dallas. I think he was.
Yeah. All right.
Is that it for the gimmicks? Oh, finally.
Finally, last but not least, Mantar.
Yeah, it was garbage. I won't argue about that one. I'm not going to die on the Mantar Hill.
Neither am I.
You know what I noticed? Like, You know what I noticed?
What?
Who presented this uh, montage? Stacy
Stacy
Keebler.
Keep.
She's
Yeah.
had some pretty shitty gimmicks too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, she has.
So I don't want to hear. Don't throw stones if you live in a glass house. Is all I'm saying. If you're Stacy Keebler, I know it wasn't her fault. She was told to do it, but still.
Yeah, so that's it for the horrible gimmicks montage, and what a show that
Yeah. All of a
was!
sudden, this show's kind of falling off the rails. Next, we have the Booker T Award, right?
Yeah, but before that, we have the number 9
Oh
moment.
yeah.
Rock holds a funeral for Stone Cold, and Stone Cold destroys Rock's Lincoln Continental with a monster truck.
That was cool.
Yeah, I think
I
honestly,
really like that.
yeah, I think that's one of Stone Cold's more underrated moments. I think because people talk about the Zamboni and the beer truck, but no one ever really talks about this.
The cement.
Moment.
People talk about the cement in the sports car.
So next up is Booker T with the "Tell Me I Didn't Just See That" award, which is basically like, I guess, outrageous moments or unbelievable moments, shocking moments, stuff like that. The nominees are Three Faces of Foley, Eric Bischoff hugging Vince McMahon, The Brawl for All, Kane sets a cameraman on fire, and Zamboni 316.
Foley's not here, but he won.
Yeah. And this was during a time where Foley and W weren't on awful terms or anything like that, but they were not on the best of terms. Because I remember reading in like one of Mick Foley's books. It had something to do with one of Mick Foley's books. I can't remember exactly what it was. I can't remember if it was like Mick Foley just wanted to do something on his own without W, or W didn't want to do like Titan Brown, Mick Foley's book that happened later this year. I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was some kind of like disagreement that kind of led to Mick Foley not appearing on WTV.
It was a cool moment, and it showed off how cool Foley was and how cool his character was. But the real, you know what the real winner was? The real winner
Bischoff.
for this is Bischoff. Yeah. That's the real.
And they even interviewed him afterwards about that.
Yeah. You could even throw in the 1, 2, 3 kid beating Razor Ramon. Rock and Hogan squaring off. You know?
Yeah, there was a lot.
Bischoff's right there. Why didn't you just give the award to Bischoff?
Well, I think in storyline there might be a reason, because like the previous night on Raw, Vince McMahon said something like, you know what, I hired you to shake up Raw and you haven't done that. So I'm going to give you 30 days to turn Raw around. And if you don't turn it around, you're fired. So I think in storyline that might be the reason, but I don't know.
Just seems like a waste, you know? But
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, Bischoff totally should have won.
Yeah, the only reason that Bischoff was hired was so Vince can say, I paid Eric Bischoff, you know?
Yeah.
And that weird petty Vince McMahon revenge shit that he always does.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
So, but hey, you're the boss. You can do what you want. Next we have Ric Flair.
We have a really
I'll go on.
Yeah, we have a really sad moment here.
Yeah, this video I thought was very well done.
I like that. I like that they did, like, I guess it's that demo version of "Tell Me a Lie" by Jim Johnston. Honestly, I prefer that version over the one that they usually do.
Yeah, I think I do too. Now that you mention it.
And the people that were paid homage to in this video package was Andre the Giant, Joey Marella, Brian Pillman, Ravishing Rick Rude, Owen Hart, Gorilla Monsoon, Yokozuna, and British Bulldog.
I mean, all legends taken from before their time in many of their cases. They did the big name. I feel a little bad because they did the big names. You know, instead of the people that they felt the need to mock, like Bertha Faye.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, but the video was very good, so I'm not gonna lose. I'm not gonna take them over the coals for it.
Yeah, it was well done. That's one thing you can always.
Their video people are the best in the world.
Oh yeah, yeah. Their production value is really just.
They're so good. The video people for years and years and years. The video people have been excellent.
Yeah, even to this day.
Oh yes.
So the next award up is the Gimme the Mike Award, and Chris Jericho introduces this, and they sort of play it off like
How about Chris Jericho's ring gear for a second?
Oh yeah, Booker T even mocked it earlier.
Yeah.
Says that he took a fashion tip from the Hollywood fashion plate, Classy Freddie Blassie.
Yeah. Another all-timer.
And so the nominees for this award are Stone Cold, DX, Kurt Angle, Mick Foley, Mr. McMahon, and The Rock.
So The Rock wins, and they comes on screen because he can't be in the show, and he does the finally, and everyone starts booing because he's not actually there. I thought that was funny as hell.
Yeah, I think it's more so than him just not being there. I mean, it kind of is, but I think it's also people were starting to turn on The Rock.
Yep.
And when I covered SummerSlam in 2002, people were starting to boo him during his match against Brock.
Yes, I love that match, by the way. That match is so damn good. It's so good. He gives Brock so much. He lets Brock beat him with his own finish, pretty much. And Brock turning heel halfway through that match. You know, it's say what you will about The Rock, man, but he'll always put the people over.
Yeah, he was very selfless in that regard.
Very selfless, especially for a big name guy.
Yeah, and also, did you notice about this little promo that The Rock does here? Did you think that this was pre-recorded rather than
yes,
live
I did.
Satellite?
I was going to ask you that. I think it was pre-recorded.
Yeah, that's what it feels like, because I feel like if it was live via satellite, he would have acknowledged the boos.
Yes.
He would have acknowledged the newer crowd.
I think you're right. I think I was going to ask you that. I think you're 100% correct.
Yeah, and like I feel like it's very obviously pre-recorded, and not only is it pre-recorded, it's pre-recorded on the set of the rundown.
How about one last thing about this promo? He calls Stephanie a cheap lady of the night, and she starts laughing because Stephanie McMahon is never allowed to sell fear or anger. You know, so yes, everything has to be a joke because she's never allowed to give up anything.
You know, George, some say that Stephanie started the women's revolution.
Some say Stephanie started women, actually. Have you heard? She started women. Like before Stephanie, there were no women. Men were just sleeping with each other. And then Stephanie came around and graced us with women. So, it's just whatever. It is what it is at this point. Like, just learn to live with it, right?
Yeah, I mean, and Rock's promo, it honestly felt a little bit ad-libbed at times, I thought, because it seemed like Rock was sort of like searching for things to say. He was always like, yeah. Yeah.
I can't even really blame The Rock for this. He's not even there, and the company decides that Smart City, New York is going to be cool with a satellite feed. And at this point, I think is when the fans realize this whole show was a giant waste of money and time.
Yeah. And so we move on to the number 8 Raw Man buys WCW.
Sure. Big deal at the time.
Yeah.
On next we have the on-screen couple, right?
Yeah, Michael Cole and Taz introduced the Shut Up and Kiss Me award.
Sure. Whatever. I mean, a little too early for Edge and Lita. That was in 2005, Your winner is Stephanie McMahon and Triple H, because of course it is. So
yeah, I also want to note that Mr. McMahon and William Regal in the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club nominated for some reason.
Yeah, well, the difference between Vince and his daughter is that Vince has no problem making himself look like an idiot, whereas for whatever reason Stephanie is booked to look super powerful.
Yeah.
So, but we've all been over that before. How about Triple H takes his pants off and he gets spanked?
Yeah, apparently Triple H tans back there as well.
Yeah. Hey, well, I mean, maybe he knew he was going to show his ass, and he went to the tanning salon real quick right before the show.
Yeah, and I also want to say that this was the second time in 24 hours that Triple H did that.
Yes,
Because Scott Steiner stripped him down the previous night on Raw.
he's supposed to be. He's the number one heel in the company, right?
Yeah.
I don't want the number one heel showing his ass twice in 24 hours. Literally showing his ass.
Yeah.
So it just seems kind of dumb. So, but it is what it is. More self-congratulatory stuff from the McMahon family.
Pretty much.
Next week.
I totally forgot that this was during the time where Triple H and Stephanie McMahon broke up on screen.
Oh yeah, you're right about that. You know, that was I think you're right. It always kind of blurs together.
Yeah, like it's something that they never really mention all that much anymore. But at the time, it was kind of a pretty big deal for a while. Then they kind of forgot about it. Then they would just kind of like tease it, and they were just like, you know what? Everybody knows we're together anyway. Let's just get back together once.
I remember they first acknowledged it for real in 2009 when Orton was feuding with them.
Yeah.
When Orton was feuding with Triple H and he DDT'd Steph.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's when they first really came out and reconciled reality with on-screen reality. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You're absolutely right. And they would kind of tease it here and there when Stephanie McMahon was pregnant in 2006. Like DX would always kind of like tease it, but
yeah, about Triple H's sausage and stuff.
Yeah. But I think around WrestleMania 25 was the first time where they sort of acknowledged like, yeah, Triple H and Stephanie McMahon are more or less back together, really, on WTV. So next is number 7, debut of Mr. Sacco and Bedpan McMahon.
Yeah. Okay. That was funny as hell.
Oh, I love that moment.
Yeah, it was funny as hell. Mr. Sacco, and then he just hits him right in the skull with the bedpan. He just quang.
Yeah.
So.
And so next up, Pat Patterson and Mean Gene Okerlund introduced the Network Difficulties Award. And I don't know, for me, this whole presentation seemed really cringeworthy. Like really bad comedy. Like Pat Patterson, like, you know what? I've seen a lot, but sometimes I think I've seen enough.
Yeah,
and Mean Gene like references like all the nominees. And it's like, if you're talking about the Christmas party in 1993, I wasn't there. And it's like man,
okay,
it's so bad.
It's
so bad.
Dumb humor.
So the nominees are Mae Young giving birth to a hand, Stone Cold stunned Santa Claus, 3-minute warning take out hot lesbian action, and Pillman's got a gun. I
mean, the real answer is Pillman's got a gun.
Yeah, totally.
But the answer was Mae Young giving birth to a hand, which, whatever. Like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it was dumb, but it was what it was, I guess.
Yeah. Pillman's got a gun was about as far as I've ever pushed anything. And Mae Young giving birth to a hand is one of the dumbest things they've ever done. Austin stunning Santa was pretty tame. And could have been replaced with Austin being crucified, but it's probably for the best that they don't bring up Austin being crucified. So,
yeah, I think that's probably
smart. I don't bring that up. Yeah, I'm with. I understand that.
Yeah.
What do we have next?
And also, I just want to mention something very briefly. Did you know that where that Mae Young moment took place?
I remember it was backstage, and I remember she was smoking a cigar while she was giving birth to the hand, but I don't remember anything else.
Did you know where exactly it took place?
No, I don't. I don't.
It took place in Madison Square Garden.
I did not know that.
So, Ring of Honor. Is this the place where you really want to run a show?
Good question. Good question, my friend. Just make sure that you sterilize the You sterilized the backstage in case she did give birth to a hand, you know? Plus, not to mention, Madison Square Garden has been the home of the Knicks forever, and they're garbage.
Yeah. Oh,
You really want that winning ways placed on you, you know? Good catch, man. Good catch.
So next up, some more awful segment. I am shocked this is in the number 10. Number 6 Raw moment, DX in blackface.
Yeah, that's speaking of cringe.
Yeah, like there's no way that would fly today.
No, that shouldn't have flown then. Wasn't that long ago.
Oh yeah, it should not have flown back then either.
So next we had Brock Lesnar, and I thought he was pretty good speaking, considering he was so green.
Yeah,
I thought he cut a good promo here.
Yeah, this is one of his better promos in WWE. Yeah,
to be honest, especially back then when he was super green as grass, you know.
Yeah, not only that, this was during his face run.
Yeah, exactly. He was very green. I think Brock's promos when they're like pre-taped and he's doing those videos and he's conveying intimidation are pretty good. But this was in front of the crowd, and does not have a great track record of being super good in front of a crowd. So, but I thought this was good here by Brock. I wanted to say that.
Yeah.
Superstar of the decade.
So the nominees are Mick Foley, The Rock, Bret Hart, Triple H, Stone Cold, and The Undertaker.
Shocked Bret Hart's name was here. Shocked.
Yeah, same here.
Instead of Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, I feel like there were a couple people left off. Like, I feel like Shawn Michaels and...
Not that I'm saying Bret Hart doesn't deserve it, because he does be nominated, but this was right when they were not on speaking terms, the WWF and Bret Hart.
Yeah. Yeah, I do feel like there were a couple of people that should have been nominated, like Shawn Michaels and maybe even Kurt Angle. You know, maybe even Kane, maybe. So, I don't know.
Maybe. Not there as long, but still 97, so maybe.
Yeah. So I do feel like there were a few people left out, but overall I thought this was an interesting award. Stone Cold ends up winning the award.
Deservedly so.
But he's not here because this was during this time where he was still out, but he was about to be back in.
Yeah. But if anyone's the superstar of the decade, from 93 to 03, it's Stone Cold Steve Austin. You saved the company.
Yeah, totally.
But he wasn't here, which was dumb.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're not here.
Yeah, and Stone Cold was starting to kind of make his way back here. I think by this time, Stone Cold and Vince had kind of mended ways, and they were sort of trying to figure out some way to bring him back on TV. I know that there were rumblings of him possibly being here, but they didn't want to bring him back at a show like this, which kind of that says all you need to know right there. I also heard that there were rumblings that he would appear at Royal Rumble. They ended up bringing him back at No Way Out.
Yeah, that sounds right. And he was the co-GM, right? Well, no, first he had the match with The Rock, and then he was the co-GM. Yeah.
Yeah, he returned at No Way Out. He had a couple matches against Eric Bischoff, one match against Rock at Mania, and he had to retire.
That was a really good match, by the way, the one against Rock. Really
I love that match.
Yeah, it's very, very good. Especially when you consider Austin was had a really beat up neck and back going into it.
Yeah, and he spent the night before in the hospital.
Yeah. It was a very... I may watch that match when we're done. I haven't watched that match in a couple years. That's a very good match.
Yeah, it's great. That whole event is great, actually.
It is. Good main event. Hogan McMahon is a lot of fun. Garbage match, garbage brawl. So yeah, that is a good event.
Yeah, so Vince accepts the award on Stone Cold's behalf, saying that Stone Cold wasn't invited, and Triple H and Ric Flair walk out of the building.
Yeah, whatever.
So number 5 moment, Stone Cold and Mike Tyson face to face.
That should be number 1, by the way.
Yeah, it should be way higher up than it is.
Yeah. So, then we have match of the year.
Yeah, and this is the
match of the decade, excuse me.
Yeah, this is more or less the final award of the night, really, because I guess the number 1 moment kind of gets an award, but this is more or less like the last like physical award, I guess you could say. So it's JR and Jerry Lawler. There's no like presenter
No,
for
it's
this
just
initially.
you know. Are these
Yeah, so
these
Raw
matches
match.
on Raw? Are these matches? These are matches on Raw, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I can think of at least 2 matches that were not nominated that are better. But give the list of nominations.
Yeah, so the nominees are TLC 2002, which took place on Raw Roulette. Cactus Jack versus Triple H at Madison Square Garden in 1997.
That match rules, by the way.
Yeah.
That match is really damn good.
Yeah, that was really cool. Undertaker versus
97 is such a good year.
Yeah.
97 WWF is probably my favorite year in the company's history.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty solid year. Probably a better year.
Or 2000. One or the other. Or 2000.
Yeah, 2000 is great.
97 or 2000, I think, are the 2 best years the company's had.
Undertaker versus Jeff Hardy in a ladder match for the
That's a good one. JR makes that match. JR makes that match. Climb the ladder, kid. Climb the ladder, kid. Famous. Yeah, that match is awesome. Even Jerry Lawler is cheering on Jeff Hardy, and he's supposed to cheer for the heels. Yeah, that's a very, very good, even great match.
Yeah. And finally, Kane versus Stone Cold for the WWF title in 1998, the night after King of the Ring 98.
Yeah, I remember watching it. I remember enjoying it, but I don't remember it being particularly great. A lot of smoke and mirrors and shit, you know?
Yeah, and like you said earlier, yeah, I do think there were a couple matches that
I can think of at least 2. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
British Bulldog versus Owen Hart, March of '93. On Monday Night Raw, which was unbelievable. Excuse me, March of '97. Wow, I got that wrong. March of '97. And then my favorite match in Raw history, even up to this day, is the one where Triple H blows his leg out the first time in 2001.
Oh, Triple H.
Yeah, the 2-man power trip versus Benoit and Jericho.
Yeah,
that match is sensational. It's so good. It's one of the 10 best matches the company's put on in the past 25 years. So let alone on Monday Night Raw. I'm saying in general.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably my favorite.
Totally agree on that.
It's probably my favorite match in the history of Monday Night Raw. The only thing I can think of liking even on par with it is the Punk Cena match on Raw 1000.
Oh yeah, that one was pretty good as well.
Really, really good.
Yeah, I think that, but I did like the Punk versus Cena match on the road to WrestleMania 29 a lot.
I think that's what I'm thinking of, right? Yeah. The winner gets to be put in the main event against The Rock. Yeah, that match was where they're breaking out like burning hammers and John Cena's
like a pile driver.
John Cena's doing like Emerald Flosion pile drivers, and that match is really, really good. Yeah, Punk does the spike pile driver. Yeah, so those are my 2 favorite matches in history of Monday Night Raw. The one where Triple H blows his leg out the first time, and then the that match of Punk Cena. So
yeah, and another match I felt should have been nominated was Bret Hart and 1 2 3 Kid in '94.
Oh, great match! Yeah, from what was that, '94?
Yeah, I believe so.
I haven't seen that match in forever.
It's really good.
I may have to watch that tomorrow. I got a lot of time to kill tomorrow before I go to a birthday party, but I'm not leaving the house till like 9, so at night. So I may have to watch that match during the day.
Yeah, it is really
90 degrees up here. I'm not leaving the house. I'm just gonna watch old wrestling.
Nice. So TLC 2002 wins. Jericho and Christian try to accept the award, but Kane says that all of them are sharing the award. And we also get one of the New York crowd shouting Isaac Yankem.
Yeah. That's the next mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, Isaac Yankem to you, son.
And seeing Kane in like a dress shirt, his hair in a ponytail, still wearing the mask.
Yeah,
it looks so strange.
It looks very bizarre. I do like him keeping the mask on, like he's a Mexican luchador.
Yeah,
that made me laugh.
Yeah, like Kalisto and his wife at the Hall of Fame.
Exactly. That dedication to the gimmick,
Yeah. And so, do you think that TLC 2002 should have won, or is
Of the
there another
ones
match
that
that you
were
think?
of the ones that were nominated, I would have gone with the Falls Count Anywhere, Triple H, Cactus Jack. Or yeah, I probably go with the Falls Count Anywhere match. Would have been my winner of the ones that were nominated. What about you?
Yeah, I would actually go with the TLC match. I thought that match was really fantastic. Like me and MDS watched it for the podcast a couple
Nice.
months
I
prior.
haven't seen it. I haven't seen it since it aired. So
It's great.
I'm sure it's very good. The guys in it were the top of their game, so I have no doubt that it was very good. It's just I think I remember enjoying Triple H Cactus Jack a little bit more, but I haven't seen those since they aired, so I could be out to lunch here, you know.
Yeah, and so the final award is pretty much done. So they kind of rushed through.
Yeah, they went through the videos
moments. So the number 4 moment, DX invades Nitro.
So overrated.
Yeah,
I think its importance has been very overblown. You know, Raw already won in the ratings, and DX was hot, but it was clearly the Stone Cold Steve Austin show. So, whatever. They love this mythology about the tank, so whatever is what it is. You know, number 3, I love.
Number 3, Rock challenges Hogan at WrestleMania 18.
Great, cool, no issues with that at all.
I'm actually kind of surprised it was as high up as it was, but I can't really complain about it.
Yeah, neither can I. I enjoyed that. It was a cool moment. Unbelievable match. Great crowd, great commentary. Rock Hogan great match. One of my favorite WrestleMania matches of all time is Rock Hogan. No complaints. You know, when Hogan hulks up and the crowd just loses their mind and grown men are jumping up and down in the aisles and stuff, like can't complain, man, about that moment, you know?
Yeah. So
and he
number
points
2,
the finger and 80,000 people go, you!
Yeah.
You know? Like,
that's
the good stuff right there. That's the good stuff. So,
yeah, at that moment in time, people were ready to see Hulk come in and make a comeback.
Exactly. They wanted the white and the red and yellow back.
Yeah. So number 2, Owen Hart tribute show.
God, it's so sad. It's just, you know, like it's just really sad. The whole Owen Hart situation and the harness and the blue blazer gimmick and all that, and that a good man was taken from us because of a stupid gimmick, you know? So that's all that's all I want to talk about for Owen Hart. It's just way too soon, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, totally. And so,
number 1.
And so Edge actually comes out to the stage to introduce the number 1 Raw moment, Stone Cold in the beer truck.
Of course.
Shocker.
Which is funny because Stone Cold's not there. And he's the number 1 moment. You know? And one more chance to remind us that Stone Cold isn't there. So.
Yeah, as far as this moment goes, I don't know. I wouldn't say it's overrated per se, but I do feel like there are more moments and more Stone Cold moments that were better than this.
I think the Stone Cold Tyson thing is much more important.
Yeah, it was more important for sure. I mean, this is a cool moment, but I feel like there are better moments than this.
So, what did you think of the show overall?
I will say this: I didn't hate this show. It wasn't a great show by any means. I don't think the hate for the show is particularly 100% warranted. It's not that great of a show, but for what it was, I thought it was what it was. There were a couple of questionable decisions in terms of like awards and stuff like that, awards winners, nominees and stuff like that. For overall, I didn't mind watching this show. I thought this was at best mediocre, I guess.
Yeah,
I guess it's a mediocre
show
overall.
I think I went C-. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I didn't hate watching this show, but it is what it is.
Yeah, just like they love telling their own story. You know, they love telling their history. So, is what it is, my friend. Right?
Yes. Yeah. So, what did you think about the show?
I thought it was a C minus. Like I said, I thought it was kind of weird that they focused on the three guys who weren't there, Rock, Austin, and Foley. And I thought it felt like it was thrown together at the last minute, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a celebration of Monday Night Raw, and it was cool seeing some of these moments. Like it was like, oh yeah, I remember. Like the thing about this I love is I watched this. I remember where I was when I saw all these moments. Like it's like, oh yeah, I remember sitting at my mom's house watching this. You know,
Oh yeah.
like that nostalgia made me feel happy. So yeah, I mean, it was. I think it's overblown. I could see that if you were there, you would be pissed that you spent all that money on it.
Yeah.
But because you didn't actually see any wrestling, like they don't even need a ring. But what are you gonna do, right?
Yeah. Though, could you imagine a ring set up in the middle of the world?
Yeah, that's a good point. But yeah,
Or people just brawl into it like
yeah, exactly.
SmackDown, shut your mouth or something like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. So, yeah, I think the controversy is a little overblown once you realize that this is what the WWE likes to do. You know?
Yeah.
So, but it is what it is, my friend.
Yeah, so I think that's
real quick. Who's winning the two ladder matches this weekend?
and
then we'll get out of here.
That's a tough one because I sort of have to split it into who I think's going to win versus who I want to win.
Okay, well, give me both.
Okay, so for the women's match, who I want to win is Becky Lynch.
Okay.
Who I think is going to win is Natalya.
That's my dad said the same thing, Natalya.
Yeah.
I think Charlotte. I think Charlotte's going to win. My dad says Natalya.
Yeah, I think Natalya's going to win due to the whole Ronda angle and stuff like that.
And screw over Ronda.
Yeah, I think Natalya is one of the last people who should win it, but because I don't think she really needs it at this point. And as far as the men's ladder match goes, who I want to win, man, that's tough. I guess if I had to choose, I would go with Braun.
Okay.
Because he has a lot of momentum going on right now. Who I think is going to win is Miz.
Yeah, I would go with Joe, but I think it's
Joe's another one.
I think it's going to be Miz.
Yeah.
And my dad says Joe because Joe is my dad's favorite wrestler. My dad used to love him when he was in TNA, and now he loves him now that he's on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to see Joe win. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'd like to see him win.
Me too. Me too, my friend. All right. Anything else before I get out of here?
I don't think there is. I think that's pretty much it for this episode. Where can they find you at, George?
Twitter at Giatsavis, GATSAV as in Victor, ES. My podcast is at 2 Guys 1 Sport on Twitter, the number 2 and then the number 1. You can hear me every Thursday at 9 Eastern, 8 Central. Thursdays 8 to 10 Central Time, 9 to 11 Eastern Time.
Sounds good. And you can find me on Twitter at MetalMatt15. I also hang out on Kate's Side Seats. I hang out on the Daily Nightly, hang out on the SmackDown and NXT threads as well. So that's where you can find me at. And you can always catch the Ruthless Aggression Era podcast every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. And next week will be a brand new episode. And this episode is going to be on the Royal Rumble 2003. So that's going to be an interesting episode to say the least. I don't have a guest confirmed at this point in time. We're currently in talks. We're trying to kind of just work out time zone differences and all that, but hopefully we'll be able to work everything out. So everything should be ready for next Friday. So next Friday will be Royal Rumble 2003. Should be a really fun show. It's going to have a bunch of highs and a bunch of lows, but it's going to be a very
And a
interesting
bunch
show.
of Scott Steiner and Triple H knocking each other on their head.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a lot of fun, my friend.
Yeah,
let's do this again
super
sometime.
Oh yeah,
let's do
totally,
this again sometime,
totally.
man. I had a lot of fun doing this.
Oh yeah, same here. Thanks for being on, George. I
No
really
problem,
appreciate
man. Thanks
it.
for having me. I'll talk to you down the line, Mr. Matt.
All right, man. So that is all for the Ruthless Aggression Era podcast tonight. Next week, same time, same night, Royal Rumble 2003. It should be a really fun episode to talk about, really interesting episode. So that is all from me and all from my guest, George, from Two Guys, One Sport. Check out their podcast. It's great. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in and listening to this episode on the disastrous Raw 10th Anniversary Spectacular. So thank you all for listening, and I will see you next time.
Bye,
See ya.
guys.